The holidays are now upon us. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas Eve, whatever holidays you and your loved ones celebrate. I'm sure there are a lot of epic meals involved, but it's not a matter of being a total food tyrant versus relaxing and enjoying your festivities and your meals. Here's how to do both. What's going on, guys? For those of you who are new here, my name is Kevin Jabal. Now, this video has been heavily inspired by Dr. Peterattia. He has an excellent blog post covering this subject, and I've taken a lot of inspiration from there and also added some of my own tips and insights. So first, what is the problem with holiday eating? Let me start by saying there's actually not really anything wrong with having one big overindulgent meal every now and then. Rarely, occasionally. If you overindulge in one single meal, it's probably not gonna really do anything for your long-term body weight, your fitness level, your fat percentage, your metabolic fitness and flexibility. But if you do notice a little weight gain the next day after your overindulgent Thanksgiving meal, it's actually probably water weight, because during this massive feast, you probably had a lot of sodium, a lot of carbs, and that retains water. Now again, I'm not saying to not indulge and enjoy Thanksgiving, for example. In fact, I definitely plan to. But the problem is when you let that one meal turn into two, into three, and you just start slipping and you start getting pretty sloppy with your diet. It's not uncommon that once your diet starts slipping, then you're like,
I don't need to go to the gym.
And then all these healthy habits, your exercise, your nutrition, maybe even your sleep start slipping, probably also your alcohol intake in the opposite direction, in that you're drinking too much alcohol, not too little. So if you find yourself gaining weight during the holidays, you're not eating as clean, you're not exercising as much, let me tell you, you're definitely not alone. Now, there are three main reasons why we tend to overeat during the holidays, beyond just the obvious fact that during the holidays we have these feasts and festivities. The first one is more alcohol and lower inhibitions as a result. So speaking for myself, and probably for a lot of you too, during the holidays, I drink more alcohol. There's more large social gatherings, people I haven't seen in a long time. I'm in a really jovial, joyful, celebratory mood. And yeah, more booze. More booze means less self-control, which means not eating very well. Number two is convenient and easy access to holiday leftovers. But all these leftovers,
I don't want them to go to waste, okay? I gotta eat them.
I mean, all you gotta do, you take your Tupperware, you throw it in the microwave, and bam, you got Thanksgiving part 2, maybe part 3, maybe even part 4, depending on how many leftovers you have. And number 3 is counter-regulatory eating. So first, what is regulatory eating? Regulatory eating is when you eat a meal, afterwards you want to eat less. That's normal behavior. Counter-regulatory eating is the opposite. This means that a lot of people, after eating a large meal, like Thanksgiving, then have a decreased sense of inhibition towards eating more food. And this actually tends to be the strongest in those individuals who are very strict with their diet. Maybe they eat super clean most of the year, and then during the holidays, they wanna let loose a little bit. The issue is that by letting loose during that one meal, you're now opening the floodgates. And researchers attribute this to the what the hell effect. So essentially what happens is you break the diet, and then internally you're saying, it. You know what? We already are past the diet, so let's just overindulge, enjoy it while we can, and then we'll get back to this diet at some point in the future. Now, the interesting thing here is that the actual caloric content or the types of food aren't necessarily that relevant. It's more of a personal thing. So whatever you perceive as being forbidden, that's what is more likely to trigger this what the hell effect and counter-regulatory eating. So the reason you came to this video, how do we enjoy the holidays while not being a total nasty glutton? Number one is don't feel guilty. It's okay to indulge in a large meal or two during the holidays. Again, the problem isn't whether or not you're gonna have an epic Thanksgiving feast. I mean, trust me, I'm definitely gonna have one. The problem is whether or not you let that snowball into a series of overindulgent meals. Now, if you feel guilty, even from that first moment, the first time you have that indulgent Thanksgiving meal, then you're gonna feel that what the hell effect that much stronger. You're gonna feel like, you know what, I already failed. Let me just throw in the towel and it. Why should I even hold back any longer? But if instead you go in ahead of time, right? You say, these are the 2 holidays I'm celebrating this year, whether it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever holiday you celebrate. And you say, during these meals, I'm going to eat whatever I want, I'm gonna enjoy it, and that's fine. Then you're not gonna have that shame or that guilt associated with it, and then afterwards, you're much less likely to overindulge and overeat. Number 2 is time-restricted feeding, also commonly referred to as intermittent fasting. Now, this is where you focus more on when you eat rather than what you eat. Most commonly, people will have a window around 8 hours, so that means 8 hours of eating for every 16 hours of fasting in a 24-hour day, so we call that 16-8. You can really choose though whatever hours, whatever split you want. I usually do a 6-18, but during Thanksgiving, I'm gonna probably tighten it a little bit more, maybe like 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., so a 4-hour window. And during that window, I'm gonna pig out, I'm not gonna hold back. But then before or after that time window, I'm not gonna have any calories. Now that means both eating as well as drinking. People will often eat or drink outside the window, but that defeats the purpose. Now this is gonna help out in two ways. First, if you are having a big meal and you experience some of that counter-regulatory eating behavior, it's gonna limit the window at which you can eat. And then number two is it's gonna reduce your total caloric intake in that day, because if you're able to eat freely for the whole 24 hours versus just a 2-hour window, obviously you can't take in as many calories in that smaller window. Number three, nuke the biggest offenders. Leftovers can be a massive danger zone for a lot of us. You got Thanksgiving part 2, 3, again, maybe even 4, depending on how many leftovers you have. Okay, so how do you get rid of this leftover problem? Number one, most obviously, you prepare less food, but you have guests coming over. The last thing you wanna do is run out of food, right? So we tend to over-prepare food rather than under-prepare. There's usually some leftovers. And number two, this is actually what Peterattia writes about in his blog post, which I think is brilliant. He actually asks that everyone brings Tupperware, and he requires they all take their share of leftovers before they leave. Number 4 is pre-feast fasting. As you guys know, I do intermittent water-only fasts, usually last around 3-ish days, and I try to do them every few months. Now, since March of this year, my trainer has put me on a bulk, so I've been trying to get swole, and I haven't actually done any fasting since then, so I'm a bit overdue. And I figured these few days leading up to Thanksgiving is a perfect time to do some water-only fasting because I'm gonna throw down on Thanksgiving. Now, as I record this video, it's Monday night. I started fasting yesterday, Sunday night, and I have a few days to go. I'm gonna do total, I think it's 92 hours from my Sunday dinner until my early Thanksgiving dinner. But the benefit here is that I'm reducing my caloric intake in the days just right prior to this epic meal that's gonna be, massive calorie excess. And of course, I'm still being active during this time. I'm still going to the gym and doing my normal workout routine, so I'm still having the same level of caloric expenditure, more or less. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do water-only intermittent fasting. You definitely need to speak to your physician before you do anything like that. And also, this method isn't gonna work for everyone. Not only does it sound very unappealing to a lot of people, and trust me, it's really not that bad. But for some people, if you are aggressive about your caloric restriction or fasting before this big meal, it's gonna worsen that counter-regulatory eating behavior. And number 5 is to use low or no calorie alternatives to address that craving that you have. Now, as you guys saw on my Instagram, the only thing they had to drink out here, Diet Coke. This might be the first time I've had Diet Coke, definitely been at least 15 years. And the one question in my mind is, why the f would anyone drink this? I'm not talking about Diet Coke. I tried Diet Coke for the first time and
oh my God, that is disgusting.
I would rather have water every single time. But when I am craving something sweet, I'm like, you know what? I would love to have a little bit of chocolate right now, a little bit of ice cream. What I instead do is I go to the fridge and I grab some sparkling water, whether that's unflavored or something like LaCroix. And I found that more often than not, when I have that drink, I'm satisfying this like oral sensory stimulation. Get your minds out of the gutter. I know you went there, but usually this drink just handles it. And then after I'm done sipping on it, 10, 20 minutes, whatever, the craving for the chocolate or the ice cream is gone. I hope you guys found that video helpful. Again, check out Peterattia's blog post linked down below. And I wanna say to you all, Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and any other holidays that you guys celebrate. Enjoy the time with your family. It's really a special time of year. Much love, and I'll see you guys in that next one.